Travis Wingoodsell. My property manager has not responded with one of her white supremacist sayings, as she typically does, in dismissing my replies and comments to her. That informs me that she's stuck as to what to do. I'm supposed to sign the document, the eviction, or not the eviction notice. It's a lease violation. I'm supposed to sign it and return it, saying that I will comply and conform. If you missed the other video that I'm talking about, because still the majority of you find me from browsing on YouTube. And I'm also finding that you're finding my older videos, which is interesting. So, it's crazy. It's a long story, and I'm not going to get into it here, but because I am a translator of ancient records, living in the state of Utah, I have been targeted as a threat to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that threat is not just from the top, who had me arrested back in 2008 because I filed a lawsuit against the church in the state of Utah. And so they turned around and said, "Oh, no, you don't. We're suing you." And I was disappeared. Literally disappeared. And so the evidence that you see at the beginning of this video, the documentation, the records, which is their own filing against me, I'm now able to turn it back on them, saying, "Hey, here it is. You guys did this to me. Here's the proof, and you guys can't deny it because you filed it." And the thing is that the church paid Dr. Cohn, the person that you see there who gave a report to the judge, to the court, back then. The church was paying her. And you don't get more busted than that. And it's through the evidence of record keeping. So that's part of how you find evidence, is finding primary source documentation. You're supposed to also follow the money trail. I got both. And that's what I presented in my lawsuit, or will present in my lawsuit, if the church is planning on proceeding to fight my case. The church right now is refusing to respond. They're going to take the full month period, and I've been telling you guys this whole time, the church is exhibiting tells that they're abandoning the Mormon church to avoid my request for relief, which is on a ticking deadline. If they do not respond by the 30th of March at midnight, the request for relief is automatically granted by default. So they have to respond. One way or the other, they have to respond. The judges are refusing to respond, which is why I was grateful that I found the waiver of service rule. That's how I serve the church. And so GoFundMe has informed me that if I do not supply them with my financial account information on the 26th of March, that my GoFundMe funds will be returned to those who gave them to me. And it was just the two of you. I don't know if you're still watching this video or where, but yeah, you're going to be getting your money back. It wasn't enough anyway, but I'm not going to take people's money for the sake of taking it. I don't have need to use it for the case. I mean, yeah, anybody could use it for their personal life, but that's not what I was asking the money for. It was for the service of process. And since I found the waiver rule, don't need the money now. And so I'm just waiting for the church to send me my copy of the waiver, and they're refusing to even do that. It's an interesting behavioral trait that's kind of a bad one here in Utah among Mormons, is that they think that they can just ignore something and that it'll go away. I filed the case. It's waiting for processing. If the church does not respond, it's over for them. They have to reply. They have to say, we are going to dismiss this case because we're a religion. And they're not doing that, are they? That's what they do with every other case, but not mine. Why? Because I dealt with it first and foremost in the lawsuit. The church wants to claim that they're one entity. The corporation and the religion as one entity. And I show the evidence with Elder Pullman's talk in 1984, where the church is trying to make that claim and made Elder Pullman redo his whole talk. His conference talk was redone. You can't find it anymore. They pulled it from the conference address that year. It was October. You can find it on YouTube. Thanks, guys. But Salt Lake Tribune were the ones who first reported it. And the church said, so what? Get over it. The church corporation is not the same when you commit crime. You are not protected by the First Amendment when you commit crime. And so I addressed that issue at the beginning. The church can't use that defense now. They can't go in and say, we want this case dismissed because we're a religion. Doesn't work. I show that my 2008 lawsuit by the church against me is the evidence against them. And point out that they've been paying Dr. Cohn, who had me disappeared for them. Because we never went to trial. They disappeared me. And they paid the person who disappeared me in the case against me. So the church is busted. And they're taking this coronavirus opportunity to shut down the church. Mormons aren't going to church anymore. They're not supposed to go to the temple either, because that's a large gathering. And all it takes is one to show up who's infected to infect everybody at the temple. And the temple is a hotbed of elderly people. You know, except for Friday night, last night. That was date night. It's just the church just makes it worse and worse for themselves. Like I've been pointing out recently, that we've got Armageddon going on. These are the last days. The Mormons recognize themselves as the Latter-day Saints because of the latter-day revelations, the prophecies. And so it's interesting to hear the Idaho news about this Lori Vallow Mormon who went off the deep end with her new husband, Daybell, in this near-death cult that they're a part of. And the Mormon reporters are trying to inform their audience that Lori and is it Craig Daybell or whatever Daybell's name is, they're not real Mormons. They're fringe Mormons. The Mormon church here in Utah, they're the established church. They're not a fringe group. Back in 1844, they are the fringe group of all fringe groups. But Mormons are lied to by the church concerning church history, which is another thing that I address in my lawsuit. But the evidence is all on them from record keeping. And so it permeates the culture. All Mormons follow the example of their leaders, which is a bad example. And so I'm seeing the effects among my peers. And they also lash out against me because of my translation work. The one thing you'd think they would embrace me for, and I'm an outcast because of instead. And so my living arrangements are such that the property manager was informed of a complaint about what I supposedly had said to Percy, which was racist comments, disparaging comments. I'll give the complaint said that I called Percy derogatory Muslim terms. As you can see here with my videos, I don't refer to him as a Muslim. I refer to him as a Mormon asset. It's wrong religion in the complaint, which is why I know that it was completely bogus. But irrespective, I recorded it. I recorded the whole incident. Why? Because records are powerful as evidence. And I posted the parts that I speak to Percy for you guys to listen to. And you'll listen to it over and over again. You're not going to hear me be racist at all. I informed Percy that he had a police order to stay away from me, and he violated that. And I tried to get him to confess to having threatened me. He refused, but apparently he chose to do it through complaining, filing a complaint against me, which he got my property manager to say, great, we got him, let's retaliate and do this lease violation. So I got them now because of the records that I kept, the video recording that I made. It is the proof against their lies. Just like their court filing against me is the proof against their having committed a crime. They use the courts to commit crime. And of course they were all Mormon involved, and so yeah, they helped the church to commit this crime. But the thing that makes it a blatant crime that they can't erase is that the church got caught paying Dr. Cone. That one act gets them in trouble. Following the money. Because if they didn't pay Dr. Cohn, they could have gotten away with it, saying, hey, well, we were just the innocent victims by your weapon of mass destruction called a lawsuit. It was Mark Shurtleff. He did it all. They could have thrown Mark Shurtleff under the bus. But no, they had to go and pay Dr. Cohn. And that screws it all up for them. That was the one thing I was waiting to find out, is how to connect everything to the church. And they handed it to me. Right there in plain sight. And it's because they never expected me to be released. The people in charge, Shurtleff especially, was ordered, don't let him ever get out. That's why the charges are terrorist threat. That's why there were 3 of them. And because that way they could justify having me disappeared for the rest of my life. It was still a violation of Utah law. You have to have first-degree felonies to justify disappearance for the rest of your life. But when they tried in the courts to force drug me, it's not medication, it's drugging. My lawyer finally did something to actually help me. And he said, Your Honor, count number 2 suggests that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a government entity. And that was all the judge needed to hear, and turned to the prosecution and says, get a hold of Mark Shurtleff and find out as to whether he's going to drop this count or if he's going to file a new count. And the prosecution realized their case was getting screwed, and they withdrew their pursuit of drugging me in the courts. Now this was a second attempt to drug me. The first attempt, they forced Vidco at the state hospital to drug me, and she thought she could get me with a forced drug hearing at the hospital when I performed a fast, religious fast. So obviously she failed. But after the court won, they fired my patient advocate. I was all alone. The people on the committee were the people I complained to about Dr. Vidco. They were under orders. Get him drugged. And then that drug that I was eventually put on compromised my kidneys, right kidney technically, and I had to be rushed to the emergency in 2015 after I got freed. So in 2016 I saw my opening to leave, be free, sort of. I'm not completely free. I'm still protected as a vulnerable adult, which makes what this person who filed the complaint against me, and I'm pretty sure it's Percy himself, and Samantha, my property manager, guilty of third-degree felony of taking advantage of a vulnerable adult. And I've reported it to Adult Protective Services. And so they're going to be investigating, and it will not be good, because I have the evidence. I have the records. So Mormons, you understand the importance of records, because Lehi knows he's got to get the brass plates, because that's how they preserve the language and the education of the people, is through records. And so Jesus, when he comes to Western New York, the land of Bountiful, and Nephi, son of Nephi, comes to him. Jesus says, "Show me the records." So he brings all the records before Jesus. And Jesus says, "Where are the records of Samuel the Lamanite, who talked about signs in the heavens of my coming?" Oh, whoops. We were racist and didn't make a record of his words. We were trying to kill him. But, yeah, the heavens are a record. That's how the Bible was written. It was from looking at the stars and the movements of the planets through the constellations. They would assign anamorphic characters to a certain number of stars that make up constellation characters. And so the planets represented individuals during the time period you're referring to. So you can go into the future, you can go into the past, and it's awesome. And I've been doing those videos for you guys too. And publications on Amazon. But record keeping, guys, it's what saves your butt when mean people come after you, when bullies come after you. That's why the Lamanites wanted to destroy the records, to erase all evidence against them. And that's what the church tried to do. They tried to cover up that they were paying Dr. Cohn, and I caught them in the act. I got the evidence before they destroyed it, and then I showed the evidence after. So that's what you see there on the screen. So Mormons, you can't cover up your crimes. You can't cover up sin, as Section 121 warns. You can't make or bear false witness against somebody. You can't get up at the pulpits of church. Well, never anymore. They shut down the church. And they keep saying it's all temporary. It's for a couple of weeks. This coronavirus is going to get worse in a couple of weeks. It's just amazing how dumb they think we all are. Because they're withholding the information. They're refusing to have people tested to find out the actual number of people who are infected, so that they can deceive us and get away with it. And government leaders are going down in flames because this isn't something you can just cover up. This is a real disease that kills. It's a virus that kills. And for those who are vulnerable, it's a quick killer. Fairly quick. Not like you see in the movies, where you get immediately infected and then you immediately die. It takes some time. It takes some time for your body to respond with healing, because that's what it is. When you exhibit the symptoms, that's your body telling you, hey, we're trying to fight this thing for you. But it already means you've infected other people. So again, I kept records because it protects me. When I was in my first marriage, I realized the importance of keeping records, because oh my hell, constant accusations just for existing in the marriage, because she married me, constant accusations. And I had to get to the point where I had to memorize our conversations so that I could repeat back to her, no, you said this. And she would get pissed because I was able to quote. I was able to quote what I did, what she said. When you confront people with the records, they get pissed, because records put people in their place when they are trying to destroy somebody. And that's what's going on here. my property manager did not respond. She normally does, because the email is her personal email, and so she's able to respond over the weekend. Her boss, I won't see anything at least till Monday. But the last time I had to file a complaint against the property manager, she investigated, took the time, and then said, "I found nothing wrong, no crime." She didn't even bother to see the evidence. But I was able to show that I was correct regarding the air unit, which is what the complaint was about. And so they finally consented and had a guy come clean it. But it didn't seem to do any good. The machine was crap. So I got a new air conditioning unit just the other day, so that I can protect myself this summer, because I'm going to melt this summer without these things. And this is awesome. This works great. But you can't be mean, Mormons. You know this. You can't protect the church and be mean. It doesn't make the church right. It makes the church wrong. So I think that's my title. Mormon abuse incriminates the LDS Mormon Church, something like that. We'll see.